also set this up a little bit differently. I believe it is a fail. Yes. I believe the way that I have this set up is a fail, but I think I'll try to make it work for this session. I'll try it differently before. I had an idea, but that's what this stream is all about, is experimenting. Because there is the possibility that I could get struck. Just saying. Evidently, Verily Veronica lost a couple of subscribers. And no one is here but me. Hello, Ronnie. Well, I don't say no one's here but me, but you're here, Ronnie. Not really been able to clean up today because I really don't have the water. Hello, Andy Green. Well, I'm going to be doing some new upcoming content on some different channels. And, I love you, kitty, but, she sits on everything. Now, the funny thing is, she's been off of me more today than any day in her life. And I was setting this up and kind of wondering if she was going to come over here. But as soon as I started talking to her, she just came over here and hopped in the lap. I guess she's a YouTube kitty. Oh, you're getting sleepy too. Oh, that's you. Oh, matter of fact, she's got such a sleepy face, I don't even want to look at her. I mean, I wasn't sleepy until I looked at her face. But she's definitely got sleepy face. Now, she and I will go to sleepy earlier tonight. Hold on, everyone. Because now the days are getting longer, so I'm not going to be going to bed as early. Hello, Kensugi. Hello, Celestial Rogue. But Amazon is going to have, you know how they have the Rings of Power now is their big thing? In the future, they're going to have another big thing. A Warhammer 40K. And Henry Cavill, the guy that played Superman, he is going to be the star, and he's going to be the producer. So I was going to do a series of videos explaining this vast universe, because, you know, if you just walk into this and know nothing about it and start to see stuff, you are absolutely lost. Now, there's some audio stories and other stuff, and I am going to see if I can get away with playing it as I do with regular commentary, the audio, and see if I can not get struck. So this is kind of the goal for the night. We're just going to hang out, enjoy each other's company. We are going to listen to some audio some of it's from audio books, and some of it is original audio, and some of it is narration of parts of a book. So this will help introduce to this universe, because I want to see if I can use some of these clips to use as some of my reference material when we talk about this stuff in live streams. Because when they get done, you know, this series right now is in the writing phase, but in all reality, the universe is so vast that it will probably take for me to get clips to where people could understand this the entire time of production. Hello, Rachel. Now, also, I have a community tab on this channel now. And every Thursday, unless I forget, because sometimes I forget what day it is, let's be careful on that one. So if you don't see a new audiobook on my tab on Thursday, you'll know Roger did not remember what day it is, and then you can write on the tab, "You forgot Thursday," and I will go, "Oops." And then I will link an audiobook, because I have a hidden playlist that you don't see, that I've got a selection of audiobooks already waiting to be linked. Well, Ronnie, like I said, on the other channel, I am creating an entertainment network. And this channel is for actual entertainment. Its goal is not drama, it's entertainment, for a select group. And once again, where I said that this Amazon thing is going to be huge, I'm going to do new content to grow this channel. Now, on the Grimgoth Dark Elf channel, I'm doing about 2 shorts a day. I skipped today, on the Grimgoth channel, but I'm going to be trying to upload like 2 shorts a day because those are actually bringing new people. And I'm already starting to make comedy off of it. Because, as a creator, it's like, what would Grimgoth have to say about X? And then you think for a minute, and then you go off as Grimgoth and figure out what Grimgoth would say. Well, I looked at Grimgoth statistics. And on all my other channel, mainly the subscribers are girls. But not on the Grimgoth channel. He's got 172 subscribers now. And now that I've been working on the shorts, I'm trying not to laugh at myself, but I go to his demographics, and it's 61% male. Grimgoth says, my damn channel's a sausage fest. How in the hell did this happen? But, that because, like my other channel, it's like 84 to 85% female on the main channel. But the Grimgoth the Dark Elf channel is 61% male, 38% female, and 1% user non-specified. And I actually have a younger demographic, believe it or not. I actually have 21% in the 25 to 34 year range. But he's actually starting to get subscribers now from the shorts. So those will be new people that will be adding to our community. Now, this channel too, like I said, I'm going to do the Warhammer 40K content, and that too will be adding to the community. Go back to my main channel, because I know I have this channel that I'm going to on it. Vox in the Void. Because yes, like I say, this is kind of an experiment. And there is a channel called Vox in the Void. And they do Warhammer 40K narrations. And they don't get struck for it. So that's why I am going to try their audio today. And I'm going to try like different lives. I'm going to try a different person's audio and see if I run into an issue. Now, I do not think there's going to be an issue. But there is the possibility I could get a strike and not be able to upload on this channel a week and then go back later and go, you know what? That was a bad idea. And then in 3 months it goes away. So that's kind of why we're here. I've been in a bad mood today, so I thought, well, you know what? This will be an interesting distraction. So that's kind of why we're here. Now, the thing for me, I mean, there's so much. Now, they did an original story, and I mean, it's actually touching. And I'm not going to play that today, because that's long and in many parts. But the original story they did on this channel, it's actually very touching. I'm not going to get into it, because once again, if this works out well, now I'm not sure what to choose. I didn't think about that. I didn't think about what to choose. Because, I mean, some things would be so odd. I'm trying to think of what would be a good introduction. That's a fan fiction. Maybe I should start with this one. I have never listened to this, so it's virgin to me, but it's called Aquila. Now, you know that every empire has its own symbol. Well, so does the Imperium of Man, and it's called the Aquila. And it is a double-headed eagle. One of the eagles is looking one way, one's looking the other, and the one that's looking the other, he has a hood on. And that is the symbol of the Imperium of Man. And just thinking about that, that would make sense that this piece right here would be a good way to start to introduce Warhammer 40K. As I said, the symbol of the Imperium of Man is called the Imperial Aquila, and it's a two-headed eagle. And this is only 7 minutes. Now, I'll have to pause it a couple times to keep terms of service, but I've never heard it before, so I'm sure there'll be something interesting for me to remark on to explain to you as we go on. Hello, Pindar. Pindar, I am seeing, remember I said I'm going to cover Warhammer 40K. Well, there is a few channels that do narrations, and I am going to see if I can do one of these narrations without getting struck. Hello, Jennifer.
Hey, man, are you Alpocalypse 423? Yeah. What's the deal? You got me running all over the place day and night.
The little girl was humming quietly. Her name was Zoya, and she knew she shouldn't make too much noise. It was dark out, and her mother needed to sleep. She'd thought about this before she left the Hab unit and wandered towards the communal area outside. Zoya was a good girl like that. Her mother said she was considerate, which was a big word with a meaning she didn't really understand, but it was always delivered with a smile, so it couldn't be a bad thing. The corridors were silent, draped in shadows that grew and shrank in time with the flickering lumens overhead. Yet Zoya had little fear, for the
Actually, Ronnie, I've got an internal clock in my head.
world was often dark, and the small doll she carried made her feel like she wasn't alone. She sang it a lullaby, the same one her mother used to soothe her into sleep when her father came home, full of drink and rage at the injustices of the world. Zoya knew by the dried tear streaks on her mother's face that the song was as much for her as it was for her daughter. Her mother had been crying that night too, though her father was absent now, gone to join the rebellion. Outside, visible through the small grimy...
Well, ever so long, you are supposed to pause for terms of service. You notice now and then, when I do Ernie commentary, I'll just pause and say blah, 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 or, just make a few words, but not say anything relevant. That's what those pauses are for.
Window, the smog layers had glowed, burning orange and red. Zoya had stared through the pane, mesmerized by the sight, while her mother stood behind her, taking small swigs from an old bottle. Eventually, her mother had sat away from the window, muttering, "The Emperor protects," over and over.
Now, in this world, the Emperor is not only the Emperor, he is your God. Once upon a time in Egyptian times, we had God Emperors. Well, in the year 40,000, there is a God Emperor.
Blamed her. As she took the last set of stairs down, wondered where everyone was. Shadows in the stairwells were often people engaging in things Zoya knew she wouldn't like or wouldn't want to be part of. But tonight every stair was empty. The lullaby faded to nothing as she poked her head out, and she frowned, unsure what to do. She could go back upstairs, but if she did, what would have been the point in coming this far in the first place? Before she even knew, she'd made a decision she was out, craning her neck and smiling with delight. The sky was cloudless, and even the colors from earlier were gone. She'd never seen a clear sky before, never seen with her own eyes the lights glittering like diamonds against the wall of night. Zoya was captivated by the strange wonder of it. She knew the points of light could be joined to make patterns, but she couldn't remember what they were. So she raised a finger.
Now, many humans in this universe live in hive cities, way underground. and some of them live their entire life and do not even see the stars.
And began tracing her own. She turned as she did so, following imaginary lines in her head. She stopped when the shadow fell across her. Her hand faltered, dropping to her side as her turn brought the giant into full view. It was silent and still, like a statue. Zoya's jaw dropped a little as she took in the sheer size of it, taller than anyone she'd ever seen. It was covered in what looked like slabs of gleaming metal, black against the ashen background of the Hab block. It wore a helmet. She knew that's what it was from the picture books, and its eyes glowed red like the lumens in the corridors. It carried a huge, angular gun in one hand, and in the other, a long metal thing with triangular teeth around the edge. A symbol with spread wings stretched across its chest in pure white, a larger version of the icon her mother wore around her neck. The doll fell from her grasp, the rag that had covered it flopping into a shallow puddle at her feet.
Are you the Emperor?
She asked it. The giant said nothing, but continued to gaze down at her with its baleful crimson eyes. Zoya stared back, enthralled. She flinched as the giant moved, so quick she couldn't register everything that happened next. Its head rose and turned. As guttural shouts erupted from nowhere, it stepped forward, raising the gun. Two flat bangs echoed, impossibly loud, and Zoya dropped to her knees, her hands covering her ears. She squealed in terror, curling up to make herself as small as possible. A revving grumble sounded, rising shockingly in pitch and volume.
Now that would be a space marine. And a space marine is a genetically enhanced warrior. Now, a space marine is bigger than any human being that has ever lived on the earth. They are genetically enhanced super soldiers. You and I visit, it's like a wrestler and an 8-year-old child. That is about the size comparison between a typical man and a space marine.
Zoya mumbled the lullaby, the words catching in her throat as she struggled to draw breath. Something wet splashed across her face, and she began to sob. The grumble lowered, stopped, like a sentry canid being pacified. For a moment, all was quiet. Then 3 metallic thumps sounded in quick succession. Child. The voice was metallic. The sound of an old box vid played too many times. Zoya raised her head and saw men lying on the ground around her, inert shapes only half visible in the starlight. She counted 4, though she flinched when she looked at the one lying closest to her. He looked as if he'd been chewed up, his sightless eyes fixed on the same stars she gazed at with such wonder. She brushed her hair aside and stood up, stumbling back when she saw the giant on one knee beside her. In one hand, it held her doll, minuscule against its armored fingers. She hesitated, then reached forward to take it, clutching it to her chest. The giant stood, and Zoya took more steps backwards.
Thank you,
she said. The giant nodded once, then turned and walked away towards the darkness at the far end of the space. Zoya watched the night swallow it, and for a second, she thought she saw more glowing red eyes in the shadows. Zoya turned too, running for the stairs she'd come down. As she reached them, she looked up, wanting to hold the image of the clear sky in case it never came again. And all the way up the stairs to the Hab unit she called home, she wondered which one of those stars the Emperor had come from.
Now, no doubt her world was so heavily industrial that you couldn't see the sky. But obviously, there was some sort of an invasion or attack on this planet that made them stop producing, and you could actually see the sky. And that was it. That was a fan fiction. But I thought that would be a nice introduction. But this is the kind of world, it's not a world you would want to live in. And like I said, it's so diverse, I wanted to find something that would probably be a dip your toe in rather than jump into the deep end. Now, the deep end would be talking about the forces of chaos. Now, there's one guy called Karn the Betrayer, and he is very dangerous, put it that way. He's got a helmet with a kill counter in it, and he's the favorite of the blood god Korn, and he has a pile of skulls. Every what person he kills, there is a skull that appears in the throne of the blood god, and he has like his own pile next to the blood god's throne. He is the favorite of the blood god, and his legion is called the World Eaters, and they just believe in butchery. I mean, Korn is the blood god, and the blood god does not care from where the blood flows, as long as the blood flows. Like I said, I'm trying to find something that's just not too far in the deep end. Now, actually, I found if we don't suck, I found a real good thing right here to cover for my first one, and it would be about an hour long. But like I said, I'm going to see this time if I can get through this without getting a strike. But the Imperium of Man has vast armies, and they also have penal legions, much like the Russians. And there's a story in here that's an hour-long one about them, but I only want to go with kind of 10, 15-minute stories tonight. Like I say, this is just kind of a sampling, and to see, can I sample this channel without being struck? That's part 2. Now, typically in your futuristic universe, you expect computers to do things. Not in the Warhammer 40k universe, because they had artificial intelligence turn on man and almost kill man at one point. So you're not allowed to have artificial intelligence. In fact, they call AI abominable intelligence, and it is strictly forbidden. And it can get entire planets destroyed. Wow, this is only 58 seconds. Tales of the World Eaters. And it's only 58 seconds, so why not? Of course, I gotta sit through an ad. It's eating a spider.
The nails screamed at him across the sea of thrashing bodies.
Now, he said the nails. You see, each of these World Eaters from that legion, they have bio implants in their head called the butcher's nails. And these butcher's nails, the cybernetic implants in their head, they make them insane. They make them into insane, bloodthirsty berserkers. And they can only gain pleasure in battle. And the more that they're out of battle, the more these butcher's nails tick. And they keep making them more aggressive. And they make them go more angry until they go berserk and start killing people. Now, I mentioned Karn earlier. This is the legion that Karn is in. Karn has his head implanted with these butcher's nails.
Gare could feel all he could know. Skulls! It came again, like a hymn of darkness, the music so familiar. He felt a rush of air to his right, and without conscious thought moved to parry the blow. The clang of his chainsword stopping the almighty swing deafened his senses. Not that he
Now, a chainsword. You know, that is actually a giant chainsaw sword. I mean, it'll be about 6 to 8 feet long. And it's literally a chainsaw that they swing at each other. And they have sword fights with fucking giant chainsaws. So when you hear them talk about a chainsword, that's what it is. It's got a handle right here, and it's one big giant chainsaw, and they swing them right at each other. So, you know, this isn't like, you know, in Star Wars you have these lightsabers. Hell no, in Warhammer, they're swinging chainsaws at each other.
quiet them. He moved again, the nails guiding his body. Gare eyed his now prey and... Zeus! It came again, like liquid flame, boiling his mind. Gare howled in agony and leapt at the other marine. Actions not his.
And that was it. You remember what I said, you know how they, those things tick? So basically what he was saying right there is, he just took his chainsword to his buddy. Now, I had never heard that, but that actually kind of fit in with what I just narrated. You know, because the blood god, his war cry is skulls for, it's blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne. And that's what the warriors of the blood god charge when they go into battle. And once again, Khorne does not care, he's the blood god. And he does not care from whence the blood flows, as long as it flows. So if you die, it's good. If the enemy dies, well, that's good too. But one of the reasons why I feel the need that'll be helpful for anyone that watches this to have some place like here to go to find out just the basics quick is because the Emperor had like 20 Space Marine legions. And each of them had their own leader. And each of them have their own philosophy. And that's just the Space Marine legions. And then they broke them into 1,000 chapters. I shit you not, 1,000 chapters. And this is just the Space Marines. This is not aliens. This is not all the other things with the Imperium. And that's why I said earlier that if they're starting production now, in order to actually finish this to where someone could come here and, you know, get the quick, 35, 45 seconds and, okay, this is this. I mean, it's going to take me that long. Now, one of these right here, this one's only a minute. Warhammer 40K Iron Warriors narration. Now, the Iron Warriors were one of the traitor legions. They are one of the legions that betrayed the Emperor. And their motto is iron within, iron without. And their Primarch is named Perturabo. And Perturabo was such an asshole. He did not find, when he met his legion, he did not find them up to standard. So he had 10% of them killed. So every 9 of his soldiers had to beat the 10th one to death. It's called decimation. And this was the Iron Warriors Legion. And like I say, this is a 1-minute clip. Ah, damn. Now that was a bad ad.
Iron within, iron without. A weapon without purpose is useless, and iron unused will only rust. I had a duty once. It filled a void I had not known existed within me. It was a lie. Now there is only hatred to fill that void of what I fought for, of what I...
Now you see, the philosophy, is his legion's philosophy, what he was saying in the beginning.
fought against, of what I was and what I have become. I look up to an empty sky and feel it burn. God gods whisper in my ears and war beckons. Lies. Whatever there is around me, whatever I do, it never changes anything. I am lost and alone. Only one lie gave me satisfaction. Only one lie stirred my empty heart. Duty. I tossed it away.
And yes, that was an Iron Warrior. And to be honest, nobody much really likes the Iron Warriors. Now, to talk about a little bit of the other legions, now, girls would like the Blood Angels because they're basically space vampires. You know how everyone has like their favorite genre? Well, a lot of the space legions had a lot of generic flavors that come from other genres. So yes, the legion called the Blood Angels, they're basically space vampires. Now, the legion called the Space Wolves, they're basically space Vikings. I'm not shitting you. That's their culture. They live on a world called Fenris. Now, unfortunately, the people that make this stuff, there's one legion that they always push in the media. And it's the legion that all the fans hate. The Ultramarines. Now, it is likely, because of the way that they do, that the show will end up based around the Ultramarines. And everyone in the universe hopes to God it is not. They are kind of like the generic legion, and they are kind of Romanesque. And their Primarch is Rabute Gilliman. And I did say that right. His name is Rabute Gilliman. And he's kind of a diplomat kind of guy. But all of the Primarchs, remember I told you how big those Space Marines are compared to us? Well, the Primarchs are that big compared to the Space Marines. So, to us, they are literally monstrous giants. And they are also superhuman. They are also superhuman intelligent. And at some point, they paired off and all tried to kill each other, and that was called the Horus Heresy. Which, when we get into a lot of the lore, later on I will. But, like I say, this is a test live to kind of see if I can get away with this audio or not. And let me find another selection. But like I said, this entire universe is so vast. And as I mentioned, just talking about the Space Marines alone would take forever. Yes, Kensugi, a long time ago. But yes. Oh shit, that one's long. Now I hope that, that will be a cool one. Now I was about to play this one, but it was 42 minutes long. So yeah, there's a few, like I say, I want to play the, okay, this one will be interesting. Trying to pronounce this. The Macrogate Instinct. And this is 16 minutes, and it looks like it's about the Tyranids. Now, mankind has its own enemy. A whole bunch of them. Now, everyone has a problem, and that's the Tyranids. They're invading from outside of the galaxy, and they are trying to devour all life in our galaxy. They apparently have left other galaxies dead. And now they've come to our galaxy to destroy all life. And what they basically do is take all the life on a planet, reduce it to goo, suck it up into space, go on to the next planet, then take that goo, turn it into war organisms, and this is just a perpetual cycle. And that's what the Tyranids do. And the Tyranids have bioforms that are ran by a hive mind. And most of these creatures are mindless. And the hive mind, whenever it runs up against something it can't face, it will make new bioforms specifically to overcome what it's having a problem with. And that's what the Tyranids do. They come in all sizes, all shapes, all colors. So, that's why now there are some standard forms, but, once again, even those can be altered. And once again, this is a 16-minute story. Actually, even worse. I hate these ads. I keep forgetting that every one of these has got an ad.
Verus glanced
Well, I hope
up at
you
the
feel better,
grandfather clock
Celestial.
that dominated the room, suddenly conscious of its steady mechanical rhythm. It was an ancient heirloom and his family's most valuable possession, though he couldn't understand why. It was hardly accurate, and had to be adjusted regularly to bear even a passing resemblance to their solar cycle. Even so, it told him it had been over 5 hours since his father had left. He had spoken to Verus before leaving, and since then he'd been mulling over his words. The Explorator survivors have confirmed that the Splinter Fleet is heading for us, so you'll see less of me over the coming weeks. Verus had read about the Tyrannid. They were a hive mind composed of horrifying warrior organisms that existed only to consume and replicate.
And that is what they do. Now, once again, facing any horror, I'm willing to fight. But in some of these Tyrannid organisms, I might actually consider it might be best if I just shoot myself. Like I said, even in some of the worst Warhammer 40k horrors, I'd be willing to fight. But some of these things, some of those Tyrannids do, I don't know, shooting yourself would kind of sound good.
Although the guard primers he'd stolen from the top shelf of their library emphasized that though vicious, they were little more than mindless beasts, easily overcome by the tenacious spirit of man. How many are there? Verus asked. I won't lie to you, we don't know. However, the shadow in the warp is unusually small and weak enough to have allowed our astropaths to get the word out. There's a chance this is a depleted fleet, coming for us out of desperation. He hesitated for a moment. There's something else too. There have been sightings of a creature near Marble Arch and Rodney Way, possibly a vanguard organism. If so, we think it may be after me. Verus had said nothing, noticing then that his father was wearing his las pistol holster unclasped. This isn't unexpected. The Xenos have been known to try this before. If they disrupt the chain of command, they might think they have a chance against us.
Like I said, the hive mind is smart. Many of the drones aren't smart, but there are brain organisms that do coordinate things. And this is and they will even actually attack your leadership. And this is what they're talking about here. Now, many times they don't do that. They just overrun you with this amount of force. But every time that they come to a planet, they have something called the shadow in the warp. And it disrupts the psychic fields around the planet. Now you see, unlike Star Trek, you remember how they say it would take 50 years to get a message through. Well, in Warhammer 40k, a lot of the human race is psychic. So they actually send out psychic signals. Like, say your planet is being attacked. Well, you have one of these psychics send a mental distress call to another psychic on another planet. And that's how that works. Then that psychic catches your signal and passes that on, and that can go all the way to Earth. Now, the shadow of the warp, it disrupts that. And like they said in this one, it was unusually small, and they got a signal out. Now, this could be why that the Tyranids have decided that finesse is needed, because they're not attacking with an overwhelming force.
I, however, don't intend to sit idle and wait for it to strike. I intend to hunt it down. The Emperor rewards those who confront his enemies. What if that's what it wants? Wouldn't it be best to stay here, to fortify our manor and the spire itself? I've made all necessary precautions, but if it's after me, this is the best way I can protect you. His father forced a smile. Don't worry, I've been preparing for this. Look after your brother while I'm away. He's not yet old enough to understand the call of duty. Since then, he had been playing with Otto on the dining room floor, awaiting his father's return. There was a 7-year age gap between them, such that his younger brother's play often strained his patience. He was engrossed in a game of toy soldiers between the folds of the carpet, the rules of which were a mystery known only to him. Every now and then he would glance up at Verus, imploring him to join in, and he would move some figures unenthusiastically. The scaling bothered him. He had never seen an Astartes, but he was sure that the Emperor's avenging angels were relatively taller. Distracted, the clock impinged on his awareness again, and he got up to stretch his legs, walking around the ground.
Now, many times in Warhammer 40k, if they say the Emperor's angels, they mean the Space Marines. And if you call a Space Marine an angel, he will inform you that they are the Emperor's angels of death. They're not angels of mercy. They're not angels of this or that. The Emperor's angels are the angels of death. Now, once again, there's a Space Marine Legion called the Salamanders. Remember those 20 Legion things I was telling you about? Now, the Salamanders do like to protect civilians. But for the most part, the other legions, yeah, they really don't go around protecting civilians. You know, they might, in the greater sense, be protecting civilians, but they don't typically go around and worry about one or two here or there. Now, remember they talked about, in that last little story with the little girl, he said he was in white armor. Now, that told me a couple things. Now, he could have been an apothecary, because an apothecary will wear white armor. Now, other than that, it would sound like that he might have been a member of the White Scars chapter of Space Marines.
Table just to be away from his brother for a moment. He found himself in front of a bust of Lord Solar Macarius. The sculptor had done fine work. They'd probably met him, but Verus liked to think that they had. Otherwise, he thought they wouldn't have included his imperfections. He had been just a man, like he'd be one day. He unconsciously raised himself up at the thought. A shadow fell across him and he turned, eyebrows curling in annoyance that Otto had climbed onto the table again. It wasn't Otto, however. His mind faltered, primal senses jammed by the sudden detection of lethal threat, unable to fathom the creature that stood mere meters away. It towered above him, claws outstretched, relaxed, almost beckoning, mantis-like scything talons arched above, suspended with impossible insect stillness. Every fiber of its being indicated it was bred to kill, and yet it didn't move. Adrenaline crashed through his veins and his mind recoiled at every aspect of its presence. His floundering attention was seized by its stare. Deep set between chitinous protrusions, its eyes were small and unspeakably black. They reflected no light, yet within them Verus perceived a dreadful intelligence without sentience. A calculation that knew neither malice nor mercy, and yet it didn't.
But once again, the hive mind was smart enough to know that to get to the guy, that he could go to the sun. So I'm guessing that this is what this horrible monster is here to do, is to lure out Daddy to be butchered.
Move, standing before him with monstrous
Otherwise, the
composure
kids wouldn't
and
be
an
there.
executioner's intent, appraising him, its tail held high behind its head like a serpent poised to strike. Verus might have mistaken it for a statue if not for the questing tendrils that spilled from where its mouth should have been, writhing gently, as if tasting the air. The shock of seeing a filament of the great devourer appear in such a familiar space almost broke him, casting his comfortable ignorance into hideous form. The pit in his stomach opened wide beneath and threatened to swallow him. All he could hear was his heart hammering in his ears. The grandfather clock struck the hour then, the resonating metallic sound shattering his paralysis. Amid coursing adrenaline, his cognition flooded back. He was no threat. If he was, he'd be dead already. No, the creature's intent was to instill fear, and that realization hardened his resolve. He remembered Macarius behind him, and his courage ignited. He remembered Otto, who, still absorbed in play, had yet to notice the intruder. He was further away and therefore...
That really sucks. I mean, your guard animal hasn't noticed the giant monster yet. I'm gonna put that down to bad writing.
Well, he had a chance. Otto! Run! To Varus's relief, his brother took one look at the monster and sprang up like a startled mud rat, sprinting for the east door and scattering plastic guardsmen across the floor. For a moment, the Tyranid didn't react, and then, still looking at Varus, it flexed its right claw. Varus noticed the fresh blood upon it, quashing any hope of aid from the household guard, and he immediately regretted his outburst. He felt a dull nausea into him as he watched the predator turn away contemptuously, feeling its muscles. With silent, feline grace that belied its size, it leapt clear across the room, vaulting the table and landing in front of Otto with a deafening crash that shattered the parquet floor. It slammed its scything talons into the ground on either side of his younger brother, who toppled back in open-mouthed horror. Varus watched from the other side of the room, utterly powerless as the courage reserved for his own self-sacrifice. He expected the creature to carve Otto apart at any moment, and then he would run. Yet once again the organism paused, as if savoring death's approach. The clock had stopped chiming, and had returned to its regular beat. It seemed like an affront that it should count away each second in the same way it always did. Slowly, almost tenderly, the Tyranid reached out a talon and enveloped Otto's face. He could see his brother shaking uncontrollably. Then it turned its head and looked straight at Varus, piercing him with his gaze once again. Its other claw snaked around Otto's back before raising him to its chest, as a mother would cradle a newborn. He could hear his brother's muffled, gasping sobs as its tendrils probed fiercely toward his mouth. Varus found himself running through the south door. He'd always been good at running. His father...
Oh no, for some reason I want to name this Tyranid Jimbo. Yes, I know. So yes, from now on I think I will call this Tyranid Jimbo.
Said he had sprinter's legs. He burst into the atrium and was halfway toward the main door before he remembered what was happening. He snapped a glance over his shoulder, expecting to see the beast ready to impale him, but it had not pursued. Then he remembered his brother. That might explain why he was running, to get help. There was no other reason. Comforted by this purpose, he ran on, but paused when his outstretched hand reached for the exit. He realized then that he was fleeing out of cowardice. There was no one to fetch, no one who could help in time. And if he left, he'd be leaving his ancestral home, abandoning his only brother to a fate worse than death. He'd abandoned his brother. Behind him, he heard the south door swinging on its hinges and turned. But again, there was nothing there. It was just settling after he had barreled through it. Then the main door opened violently, and he toppled over backward. The figure who walked through was recognizably his father, although he saw him as he never had before. Though he wore the same PDF uniform in which he had spoken to Varus that morning, he seemed larger. There was a hard focus in his eyes and an unyielding tension in his posture. He realized then that his father was prepared to die to protect his kin, and Varus's terror was compounded by shame at having fled. Armed men followed the general, flooding into the hall like water into a crevasse, covering every corner and shadow with the sights of their lasguns. His father turned to him. "You're in shock. Tell me where it is." Varus pointed toward the south door leading to the dining room.
Now see, this is the thing about this universe. It's so vast, you can have any type of a story. They have cops that are called the Arbites. I mean, you can have cops, you can have romance, you can have investigator stories. And in this case, this is a horror story.
"Go outside and wait with my men. Wait outside." The tone of command broke at no response. His father turned away, and with a signal his men formed up around him. Varus recognized one of them, Major Hawthorne, a distant relation who'd often joined them for dinner in the very room they were about to storm. At that moment, a sonorous bellow rumbled through the empty manor. It seemed to come from all around them, above and below. It boomed down the stairs and echoed off the panelled walls for a long moment, filling Verus with dread. In a quiet, steady voice, Hawthorne answered, "He is our shield." In unison, the soldiers completed the catechism. "And our protector!" His father remained silent. Despite himself, Verus' spirit soared.
Those prayers to the God Emperor of mankind.
As the squad surged forward as one. He watched, transfixed as they reached the south door, the lead man bringing it down with a savage kick. Verus followed cautiously, forgetting his father's order and daring to hope that he would see them slay the monster and save his brother. He didn't hear any las fire from the room beyond, which must mean the creature had temporarily eluded them. Yet they were the best his world had to offer. It was only a matter of time. They'd probably saved Otto already. Verus felt a sudden disturbance in the air behind him, and with a sharp intake of breath, panic finally overcame him. He felt a claw encase his head, a talon resting gently on the base of his skull as he was lifted bodily into the air. The monster shrieked and chaos ensued. The creature burst into the dining room, brandishing Verus before it like a ghastly trophy. Through the blood pooling in his eyes, he caught glimpses of soldiers.
Yes, this is a channel called, that's the name of the channel, Vox in the Void. Now, in the Warhammer 40k universe, a Vox is a broadcasting unit. So, you know, that's kind of, we would consider it like be called broadcasts in the void. But like I said, where we have like TV or internet, you know, they have a Vox caster. So, you know, that's why it's called Vox in the Void. And that is the YouTube channel. And he does narrations of many of these things. And once again, I am going to do this like fair use and see if we can use this to explain some of these Warhammer 40k stuff in live streams and not just me making videos.
Frantically taking up formation to confront the new
Please
threat
do,
from behind.
Pindar.
He heard men shouting, begging for orders, and imagined nervous fingers
Because we do
itching
have
on
lurkers
triggers.
that don't like to talk.
For a moment, he could just
and
make
even
out what
people
he
that
thought was
don't
the
like
silhouette
me
of his father,
are welcome
who
to
alone
get
stood
the
motionless
info.
and silent.
And many of the people
somehow,
that do like
through
us
it all,
are
he
just
could just
listening.
make out the unfaltering heartbeat rhythm of the grandfather clock. Or perhaps he was imagining it. The Tyrannid screamed its challenge and leapt toward the firing line. Verus heard his father give the order. "Open fire!" The fusillade of las bolts pierced them both, and the monster died without sound. Only Verus screamed. Months later, Major Hawthorne gazed down at the corpse of his commanding officer. The morgue was cold, lending him an unusual clarity. Every few minutes a quake from above dislodged a cloud of particles from the rockcrete ceiling, which drifted lazily in the air. Compared to the carnage of the battlefield, the harsh lights and equally spaced tables created a sense of order and peace.
Well, this, you know, outside of our typical YouTube stuff, this is stuff that I listen to. You know, this is one of the channels that I listen to for my own entertainment. And once again, since I have to now explain this, I'm hoping I can do some of this on lives because I think they will be entertaining for everyone. You know, there'll be little lives like this with maybe 10 or 20 people, and we'll talk about fun stuff. And we'll enjoy these together. But once again, I'm seeing if I can play the stuff off this channel without getting in trouble. And then and I'm doing it like one channel each time, so I can say that, okay, this channel is okay to use. And that's why this is the Expirement Live. Because I'm trying to see if I can use this for the Warhammer 40k stuff. And once again, tonight I'm picking only short selections. And then there's some long ones here, you know, near an hour or an hour. And those are the ones that I would want to do, you know, like a live stream event.
The bodies were the same. The general had died leading a doomed charge to retake a forward trench in the southeast quadrant. Although Hawthorne knew, as had been plain to see, that he had been dead for months, defeated before he ever set foot on the battlefield, He dragged his men down with him. Hawthorne didn't have any children. He couldn't comprehend what it was like to lose 2 sons in a matter of minutes. But apparently the Tyrannid did. They had supposed that the lictor was hunting the general. But what if the foul creature had intended to untether his sanity by rendering him not only powerless to protect...
Okay, now this is a Tyrannid lictor. Now I was wondering on which species it was. Now I'm going to look up some other stuff on this lictor.
his children, but culpable in their deaths. And that had implications that troubled him. That was more than anticipating the behavioral patterns of prey. That was manipulating their psychology for a desired effect, which suggested a much deeper, more intimate understanding. Hawthorne had fought chaos cultists, those who cast aside the Emperor's grace and embraced the abyss, the decadence, the scheming, the rage.
Now just a minute, everyone. Just one moment. Oh, shit. I hate it when I do that. I have the wrong device. Silly me, but I can't use the one I need to link it. Now, Pindar. Yes, on my regular channel, link what I linked on it. Because I can't link on this one because I have a community tab here, but I have to use the device that I would have to link on the tab. But yes, on my main channel, could you link what I just put in the tab?
Yet even those warped, twisted vermin embodied a recognizable, though corrupted humanity.
Thank you.
He'd fought greenskins too, thankfully from a safe distance. It was obvious they barely understood fundamental human drives and, more importantly, simply didn't care. The Tyrannid were different. To have mastered human psychology so completely, and yet to deliberately omit it from their engineered bioforms, was more chilling than seeing his friends torn asunder. It meant the traits of humankind were no more than emergent properties of another biological process, as transparent to the gene craft of the Great Divide.
Now, the next time that I do this, we are going, this channel that Pindar has linked right here, this tells you about the Lictor. It is a stealthy assassin. Now, this channel that she's also with the Lictor, that's the next one I'm going to do. Remember I said on each of these experimental lives I'm going to try a different channel? Well, this second channel, that is going to be the next one we are going to try.
Aura as any flora and fauna. It meant humanity wasn't divine. It meant he'd been lied to his whole life. He thought then of the Lictor, unflinchingly confronting its own certain death. How could it be the manifest destiny of the Imperium to rule the stars when this selfless predator of the void judged human nature to be a weak survival strategy? His comrades told him he should pray more and think less, and perhaps they were right. Although for him it wouldn't matter for long, as another shockwave, the largest yet, spread cracks through the ceiling. Shaken from his reverie, Hawthorne wheeled the body of his friend into the crematorium. He paused over the activation stud for a moment, considering rejoining what was left of his platoon. They were probably making a stand in Alexanderplatz, the kind of gesture he'd been taught was synonymous with glory. He wondered who was still alive. The idea of dying among friends felt good, but these were the predictable thoughts of a social animal. Herding groks together made them easier to control, easier to extract their biomass. It would be a futile and selfish gesture. At least this way they would never see his meat, nor would they add his distinctiveness.
Now, Pindar, this, what has just typed in chat, that is an account that you do not know about. Now, can you please link this account in chat? Because this account has playlists on it. And I created these playlists to do just what I'm going to do on this channel. So if someone wanted to go to this 40K interactive channel and subscribe to it, it has playlists that explain everything in this universe that I have gotten to link so far. And I really could link probably 100 more videos on it in will. But this is what I was originally going to do in the far future, was use this hidden channel to play this or to broadcast this type of content. But once again, because of the Amazon series, I've decided to go ahead and bring that here, because once Amazon puts this series out, everyone's going to know about this. It's not going to be a hidden niche anymore.
To their own grotesque gestalt, Hawthorne activated the incinerator.
But see, where Pindar helps me, you know, part of being helped is accountability. So Pindar knows that I work, I rest, and I play. And I also try now and then to have a little project. And this right here, this is one of my little projects that I did. So, you know, like you said, Pindar, you know, as you know, I do stay busy, because living alone and in isolation, that was a part of the therapy thing, to stay busy.
And stepped into the flames.
Well, so far so good. I don't have a thing coming up. Now, I might tomorrow. Now, like I say, I don't think there will be, but I will have. Now, if I didn't pause these, I might have an issue. Now, they've got their own series called Gav and Bob. And I mean, the 2 parts I listened to it was pretty touching. So so I want to save that for if this all works out, and I think it's going to. I really do. I'm trying to find something that isn't too insane, because some of this is insane. Now, this one is a Space Marine story called Ravenfall. Now, this no doubt is one of the, oh shit, what was the Dark Ravens. Yes, and their Primarch is Corvus Corax. And so this is a Space Marine story that's 17 minutes long. Only got about 26,000 views 11 months ago. Now, the thing is you'd be surprised. I mean, this channel only has 33,000 subscribers. You know, this is one that you actually have to have a hard time finding. And once again, as you see, this is entertaining content. And as I said, this is one of the ones I listened to. Now, they even had a holiday story that was 10 minutes long called The Gift Bringer. And they have another one here called Silent Night, and it was 15 minutes long. But to be honest with you, I don't really feel like I'm in the Christmas mood right now. No, I don't. I do not feel in the Christmas mood. So we will play Ravenfall. Oh, no ad this time. I mean, the first time I'm ready for the ad this time, and no ad.
Our guns and our forward outpost have fallen silent. The last of Las flashes ceased after that barrage of missiles that hit the command bunker. 105, come in. Repeat, this is 106, do you copy? What is your status? Our commander is losing it. After that explosion, it would be a miracle if any of the guard forces would emerge alive. Minutes pass, but I can't see any of our retreating forces. Looks like they fought to the last man. I look into my rangefinder. Contact Tau infantry. I tell my commissar.
Oh man, Tau bastards! Now, Tau are a new race. You know, most of the races in Warhammer 40k had been around for a while. The Tau are new on the block, and they don't quite understand how the galaxy works. So, they have high technology, and they also assimilate other races into what they call the greater good. So, in a way, they're kind of like the Star Trek Federation, but not so nice, put it that way. They're aggressive about expansion. You know, picture if a Federation kind of acted like the Klingons, but kind of stayed the Federation. And that's the Tau. And they're a race on a meteoric rise. And they don't quite understand how the galaxy works.
Xenos bastards! Let them come! We will break them! Men, prepare your weapons! As he readies us for the inevitable, I notice a flickering light on his vest. He raises his chainsword. Glory to the first man to die! His bellow is cut short, however, as
And that is one. Now, the Expirement Man has their own military, the Imperial Guard. And that is the Imperial Guard motto. Glory to the first man to die.
a hail of pulse shots tear his body apart. As he falls, we duck behind the walls of our concrete trench. The precision of the burst that killed him is shocking. They must be on the building tops already. I quickly glance over to the upper floors of the habitation blocks in close proximity. No movement. I guess the Commissar the glory then, says a soldier next to me.
Now, what he means by commissar, they have a political officer called a commissar, and he will shoot you for cowardice. Matter of fact, he can shoot you for virtually any form of insubordination or infraction. You know, they don't quite have MPs per se, they have commissars. And a commissar execute a general for cowardice. He can also, like for gross incompetence, shoot a planetary governor. I mean, a commissar has almost unlimited power to shoot people. The only people that have more power to just go around and shoot people are inquisitors. And they can go around and shoot whoever they want but another inquisitor.
Me. Keep your head down. They must be on the vantage points, I tell him. My sergeant is issuing orders to our left flank. I see men taking up firing positions. He tells something to his confidant. He starts running towards us down the trench. He is 5 meters from me when a streak of light flashes through his chest. He tumbles and slides on his face, stopping at my feet. By the Emperor.
In the Imperium of Mankind, it covers most of the galaxy and it's over 1 million worlds. I mean, this is on a scale unlike anything else in science fiction. I mean, there'll be untold trillions amount of people sometimes on a world. You know, a hive city could have 8 to 10 trillion people in it. And as I've mentioned before in that other story, you know how the little girl was amazed to see the sky? That's why. Because she'd no doubt lived in one of these gigantic hive cities.
And then it begins. Xenos weaponry open up on us. Pulse rounds and missiles impact on our position. First rank, fire! Second rank, get ready! I hear my sergeant yelling. So we did. Come on, lads. If we die, the sector is done for, I tell my comrades. There is about 100 of us left. As I fire, I see the firing line of the Xenos infantry advancing up the roadway, using the rubble as cover. I land a shot, only to be intercepted by their flying machines. Drones, they call them, if memory serves. Our grenadiers put them to the test. Seems it's too much for their drones. Give them hell, I yell to our special weapons team. They are picked off rapidly, but this time the shots come from behind our lines. I turn, my back against the trench wall. My eyes move rapidly. Again, the shots came out of nowhere. Are we encircled? Our left flank crumbles. We are barely killing anything. Mostly just their drones. I hear a clicking sound next to me. A soldier in the second rank behind me yells, "Grenade!" A blinding flash engulfs the trench. I see nothing. I am knocked over. About a minute passes until I manage to recover. By that time, our defense line is overrun. I grab my lasgun, and as I am lying, I aim it at the closest fire warrior and pull the trigger. My rifle is empty. I curse out loud. This alerts the Xenos a few meters away. They turn on me and aim their rifles.
Drop your weapon and surrender.
The armored figure yells at me.
Now, there are some humans that have forsaken the Imperium and joined the Tau.
In broken Gothic, its Elon helmet distorting its voice. The Xenos holds a pistol-looking weapon straight at my head. I look at my dead comrades around me. Weapons litter the trench. I look at the closest lasgun. I leave my eyes on the weapon for too long. A fire warrior takes a step closer, and the one with the knife-looking thing on his belt yells at me again.
Surrender and...
Indeed. There is no use to fight anymore, says another armored Xenos, a bit taller than the others, speaking perfect Imperial Gothic.
Talk to this one.
The leader tells this strange warrior.
He is your kind. Maybe he listens to you.
My kind, I whisper. The tall one steps closer. His rifle is lowered. He takes off his strange helmet. I step back in my shock. It's a human. Greetings, guardsman, he starts. Fear not. You don't need to die right here, right now. I used to be like you, but I embraced the greater good. Join us, and you will be given a chance to fight for a truly noble cause.
Now, you notice that when we're doing these, you notice that I'm kind of prepared. You know, I've never listened to these individual, but you notice that I basically have prepared you to understand these, and this is kind of what I'm going to do with the Warhammer 40K series. That way, you know, when the big Amazon series comes out and you go to watch it, you know, you're just not going to be blown over. You're going to be telling, okay, this must be a this.
Could you? A filthy traitor is what you are.
Hello, Ghost of
Listen.
Yama.
He leans closer and starts talking in a lowered voice. This is your chance, man. I suggest you take it. The Tau take care of us. He swings his arm back, gesturing at the Xenos. We are fed, and not with Imperial rations. You can even keep your faith if you so wish. Believe me, if you pull your weight, you work yourself up in the ranks. I fight because I choose to fight, not because I'm ordered to. He stops and looks at my uniform. I see the other Tau turning away from me and starting to round up the survivors. The officers are executed on the spot. Tell me why I shouldn't strangle you right here while your keepers aren't looking.
Now, remember how I said, you know, they're kind of like the Federation, but then they kind of sometimes act like the Klingons? So, you know, the Tau did just take out all the officers and have them shot.
Oh, but they are. He nods and gestures behind me. I turn. Shimmers are on the bunker top overlooking the trenches. Suddenly, 3 other creatures appear out of nowhere, wearing some kind of an armor that hides them from plain sight. These are my cadre's stealth suits. You have seen them firsthand. We have technological superiority, and this world will fold into the Tau Empire. We will bring you peace, and share our technology with you.
Well, you see, the thing is when the Tau were expanding, they found the outskirts of the Imperium of Man. And many of these places were in bad shape. So the Tau got it in their head that, you know, that humans weren't that smart or that powerful. And then they learned differently. And once again, Tau, much like the Federation, are very arrogant. But the reality is, if the Imperium of Man wanted to, the Imperium of Man could crush them like a bug. It's just, they've got things like remember those Tyranids? The Imperium of Man is actually at threat from the Tyranids. The Tau could never actually be a real threat to the Imperium of Man. And that's the only thing that keeps the Tau alive.
Help us build a better world for you and your family. You do have a family, don't you? The Imperium oppresses you, forces you to fight. I unremembered. Look! He turns his head upward and points toward the skies above. See, that's our carrier, and those are our Orca dropships. Each dot leaving the vessel carries dozens of warriors and suits like these. He is trying to impress me. I look up. Indeed, it is a grim sight to behold. The Xenos vessel is considerable and blocks out a huge part of the visible sky. It's casting a shadow over us even now. I lower my gaze back to the traitor. What is your answer? Will you join us? I can't guarantee your safety, nor the rest of the captured guard forces if you will not comply.
Quay Vesa,
Says the Xenos, who is apparently some kind of leader of some sorts.
enough. We wasted enough time with this.
It takes its weapon and hits me in the stomach. I grunt for a second, but the strike is surprisingly weak. I grin. Is that the best you can do, Xenos scum?
Line up the Defiant ones in front of that wall. We need to move. Quay Vesa, I will leave the rest to you. Make haste.
The
Now,
traitor.
the humans that join the Tau call them Quay Vesa. Q-U. Quay Vesa. So once again, the humans that serve the Tau are Quay Vesa.
It looks at me with disappointed eyes. You can't say I didn't give you a chance. You can go and... A sound of a sudden muffled explosion cuts me off. We look to the skies. The enormous Xenos ship in low orbit gives out a low growl. Escape pods deploy from the craft in rapid succession. A few seconds later, major explosions burst out of the ship and into the atmosphere. The vessel starts to tilt. Its engines flicker and then shut down entirely. It begins falling out of the sky. The Xenos soldiers begin to scramble. One of the fire warriors kneels and pulls out what appears to be a long-range optic scanner.
Sashway!
It yells.
Our carrier has sustained heavy damage and is losing altitude fast. Escape pods inbound. I'm picking up no vital signs in them. What happened? I can't establish a communications link with our ship. All channels are
I got
dead.
an idea.
The first escape pods crash land next to us. Their hatches burst open, but they are empty. All of them. The Xenos cries out again.
Sashway! We need to move! Debris coming!
The Xenos leader begins to shout orders into its comms unit. A drone arrives beside it and begins shadowing the movement of the leader.
Contact!
The fire warrior yells.
Queveda! Amongst the fallen debris! Minimum number of 5! Incoming! What?
As it questions its subordinate, the clinking sound of grenades catches my attention. And then I notice. Numerous, grenade-like charges have impacted into the ground sporadically around us. Too big to be standard guard issue. Too big for human hands. I notice the Aquila edged onto it. For the Emperor! I shove the human traitor away from me and dash into our trenches. This sudden attack took my captor by surprise, and he fell back onto one of those oversized grenades. A moment later, he is disintegrated by the explosion. A moment...
This is a grenade from a space marine. Oh, this Raven, these guys, they are stealth guys. So they no doubt snuck onto the ship, ejected the pods, and then blew it up.
Later, I am covered by human blood and guts. I can't hear. My ears are ringing. I look up from the trench and I see the Tau frantically firing upwards into the sky. The invisible machines they had, those stealth suits, went back into hiding. All I can see is their shimmers flying upwards to meet their supposed foes. My guardsmen comrades who have survived the detonations also seek refuge in the ruined bunkers of our defense lines. Suddenly, A lifeless Xenos in one of those suits crash into the concrete next to me. I turn it over and see that its helmet bears a large hole. The back of its head is gone. And then they arrive. Their armor emits a deafening sound, like carrion birds of old. There are 5 of them, and those 5 brought down the Xenos carrier. I spot the sergeant. His avian-like helmet is bleached bone white. But other than that, I don't recognize the power armor from the few pics I have seen and from the stories the veterans told me. He is like a blur. With his pistol and knife as big as a power sword, he adds a new Xenos corpse to the mound every second.
Now, there are channels that have like a game simulator program, and I've been watching some of them this week. They put 5 Space Marines against 500 Star Wars troopers. You know, the clone troopers? Remember how they run out there and ran at all the droids and shot at them? Well, you take 500 of them, and they pit them against 5 Space Marines. And the Space Marines cut down the 500 clone troopers, and none of them died. Now, this is to actually show you how bad a Space Marine is. I mean, there was another one of these simulators that had 1 Space Marine versus 4 Jedi. And the Space Marine won.
He reaches to his satchels and litters his surroundings with grenades. A second later, with a muffled boom, smoke erupts and engulfs our outpost. All I see is grey. The smoke is thick. I decide to stay in the relative safety of the trenches. Bolters flash and boom. With each flash, I get a glimpse of silhouettes a dozen meters from me. Hulking giants, and the Xenos beside them, like children. Then it stops. The ringing in my ears fade. The sound of the avian shriek is also no more. I crawl out of the trenches, and with my hands held forward, I try to make my way through the smoke. I hear a muffled sound of pain, and then I see him. A pair of bright red glowing eyes flash up amidst the smoke. They turn on me. As the smoke fades, I see a towering giant clad in dark black armor. His face is a bleached white skull, and in his hand a knife longer than my las gun, and in the other...
Now, where he talks about the white helmet, that would mean it was a
still-living Xenos warrior gasping for air. He holds him by the throat. With a sudden and lightning-fast motion, he impales the towel with his knife and hacks the fire warrior in 2, the parts flying in opposite directions. Then he turns to me. 4 other pair of red eyes emerge from the smoke and form up behind. I can't help but drop to my knees. I find myself trembling. My lords? Guardsmen. The squad sergeant walks up to me. How many of you are left? I hesitate for a moment.
Now see, am I good or what? I told you the one with the white hat was the sergeant. Now different legions have different, may have different things to signify. But I knew the specific one of this one. So yes, that is the sergeant with the white helmet.
I am unsure, Lord. Please give me a minute to...
No time. We have to move. This sector is clear. We made sure no more Xenos reinforcements will land in this part of the hive from their carrier.
He gestures at the Xenos vessel that just impacted on the surface on the other side of the city. I start to feel the tremors under my feet.
Gather what forces...
Now, think about it. If you live on the other side of the city, you just got hit with a spaceship. You know, once again, they're not quite giving the gravity. See, so many horrible things happen in Warhammer 40K. All the time, for the sake of the story, it's not talked about. But you just heard them say that that ship fell on the other side of the city. I mean, that's going to be bad. I mean, that's going to probably be almost Hiroshima-like.
you have left. Take whatever weapons you can salvage and advance up towards the main spire of this hive.
He points to the towering structure in the distance.
Kill whatever Xenos you find along the way. If you encounter civilians, escort them to safety.
Lord, our commanders were killed by the Xenos. Lead us and we will follow.
You will lead them, guardsman.
The squad sergeant replies.
Hey, guess what? That trooper, he just got a promotion to officer because the Space Marine said so. And in the Imperial Guard, that will be considered a field commission. So this guy is now the head of his unit.
He and the rest of his squad raise their arms in unison with grapnel pistols in hand.
I already have a squad to lead.
He looks up.
Standing by.
Suddenly, a black thunderhawk emerges between the spires of the habitation block and starts hovering above us. The Space Marine looks down at me. He bangs his fist onto his chest plate.
Victorus, out, mortis. Fight well, human.
They fire their grapnel
Victor,
launchers
you're
at
dead.
the thunderhawk. My comrades gather around me. What was left of the smoke from a couple of minutes before is blown away from the engine wash of the Astartes vessel above. The Marines are lifted off the ground, and before we know it, they are already inside their ship. It orients itself towards the main spire, and with a deafening roar of its engines, it disappears from our sight. A few seconds later, 3 more Thunderhawks swoop over us in low altitude, heading in the same direction. I look at the survivors of my battalion. They are still recovering from the battle from a few minutes ago. All right, men. Gear up. Take everything which has ammo in and form me. This isn't over yet. The Emperor protects. The Emperor protects!
So, you know, in Warhammer 40k, you will hear a lot about the Emperor, because everybody loves the Emperor unless you're the Chaos Gods. I was looking for something orcish. Now, the orcs, O-R-K, that is how you spell orc in Warhammer 40k. Now, they grow bigger as they fight, and there's only men. There are no female orcs, because orcs are fungus in flesh, and they breed by spores. So when they die, they basically are breeding. Now, there's a famous one called Gazgul Thraka, and this is his speech. And he attacked a world called Armageddon twice, and it is very famous Warhammer 40k lore. And this is apparently his speech. But first, we must have the ad.
Smash me. I'm the hand of Gork and Mork. They sent me to rouse up the boys to crush.
Now, Gork and Mork are their gods. The orcs have 2 gods. One is Gork. He is just a minute, I gotta remember my orc philosophy. He is brutally cunning. And then there's Mork, and he is cunningly brutal. And this is the orc philosophy. See, the orcs believe in 2 things. They believe in brutal cunning or cunning brutal. And these are what their 2 gods represent. Gork and Mork.
And kill. 'Cause the boys forgot what they're here for. I was one of the boys, till the gods smashed me in the head, and I remembered that orcs is meant to conquer and make slaves of everything they don't kill. I'm the prophet of the war, and the whole world's burning my boot.
Now, you see, he said, I am the prophet of the Wa. Now, the Wa, remember how I said when they die is basically their breeding. They will get together in a big war band, attack the planet, the better part of them will get killed and have fun while they're doing it. I'm not kidding. And then they will spread spores. And that is a wah. So this way they invade your planet, they get killed, and breed all at the same time. And that is a wah. A mass migration of these creatures across the galaxy with the sole intent of ruining your day and dying themselves in glorious battle, which they find fun.
Prince, on Armageddon, I led the boys through the fire deserts and smashed the Humies' metal cities to scrap. I fought Yarok, Old One-Eye, at Tartarus, and he fought good. But we smashed his city too. I'm death to anything that walks or crawls. Where I go, nothing stands in my way. We crushed the stunties on Golgotha, and we caught Old One-Eye when the speed freaks blew the Humies' big tanks to bits. I let him go, 'cause good
And yes, they call us the Yumis.
enemies is hard to find. And orcs need enemies to fight, like they need meat to eat and grog to drink. I is more cunning than a grot, and more killy than a dread. The boys that follow me can't be beat. On Piscina, we jumped the Marine boys, and our boss was covered in the helmets we took from the dead uns. We burned their port and killed their bosses and left nothing but...
And this is, like I said, this is his leader's speech, Gazgul. And Gazgul is very famous. He is probably the most famous orc in the Warhammer 40k universe.
It's behind. I'm Warlord Gazgul Magorok Thraka, and I speak with the word of the gods. We is gonna stomp the universe flat and kill anything that fights back. We is gonna do this 'cause we're orcs, and we was made to fight and win.
And that's Gazgul, and he's invaded the planet of Armageddon twice and has been repulsed. Now, on the sillier side, there's a channel that I use music on. Now, typically on this channel, I start with a tune or two off of this channel. And it's mostly Warhammer 40k inspired music. Now, they have created a Warhammer 40k song for the orcs. And it's called Wah. You try to get the lyrics. We're about halfway through. Well, yes, it is. But you already know the lyrics. think's funny, Pindar, is going to be downloading the chat. Yes. He's going to be trying to figure out what in the hell this wah is. Hello, Yates. And that's a song about wah. It's called The Song About Wah. Now, Pindar, on my main channel, I have just linked the song about wah. Now, could you link the channel? I'm not really interested in you linking the song about wah. I'd rather you link the channel. Because this is the channel that I pull all of the music, because this channel, I have a lot of music at the beginning. Especially like our gaming sessions, waiting for people to come in. And this is the channel that I will not get struck using. And I can use all of the music on this channel on my channels. And it's all original. Ah, damn it. I hate it when the thing freezes up. Well, just a moment. This old Obama phone, it's got in the habit of now and then freezing up. Now, this is the new one that they made, and I kind of like it. First, you got to get through the ad. Like I said, the channel has some decent music. But it's a variety. But yes, I wanted to give you a sample of that. It still has about another minute left in the song, but almost everything on this has no lyric to it. there's a few songs with a word here and there, but almost everything on this channel is nothing but an instrumental. So once again, that makes it really good to use as our intro music. And that's one of my little secrets on this channel. But most of the early stuff he did is Warhammer 40k based. And so once again, since I'm bringing this material, you know, I can explain some of this stuff and talk about something and then play some music based on it. And once now, I'm just advertising the channel. Oh, no, that was uploaded 3 days ago. Excuse me. And that was, you were the 2065th person to ever hear this. You know what we just heard just now? This was the 2065th view. And it was uploaded January 4th. And once again, all of his music isn't for everyone. You know, I like some of it and I don't like other of it. But, you know, once again, it's always worth listening to at least the first time to see if you like it. And the ones that I really like, those are the ones that I use on this channel for when we need a music break. And once again, a lot of his music here is Warhammer 40k based. So, you know, I've kind of, on this live, I'm not sure how much power I got, but, you know, we're going to go here in a little bit, but, you know, this is the basics of it. Now, on our regular game, YouTube Schizophrenic is going to make a superhero. And also Gingy, she's sick right now, so she's probably in bed. But she's going to make a superhero. So we're going to have 2 more people to join to our group. And that will resume really soon. And I hate to say it, but I meant to this week, but I missed a day somewhere. Yes, you know, I'm telling on myself now, yes, I intended on starting this Wednesday, and then and then when I found Thursday, I thought it was Wednesday, and around noon I found out it's like, I missed Wednesday. So, you know, I'm telling on myself. Like I said, I was going to have a live stream this last Wednesday, and I got all ready to do it on what I thought was Wednesday, and then about noon I found out it was Thursday. So that kind of, you know, I missed Wednesday. I mean, there's no going around that. I missed Wednesday. That was all on me. I'm glad I didn't tell people ahead of time that I would be there on Wednesday and then stood it up. But yes, that is the fact, is I was going to be there Wednesday, and like I said, I'm glad I didn't tell anyone ahead of time. You know, I'm telling on myself now, because, you know, you might as well get a laugh out of it before we go, because we're at the chit-chat part. She's come back and got in my lap again. But yes, I mean, well, on Wednesday, Sayla and them wear pink. That's what I probably need to do. But yes, this is an idea. I am going to go to Sayla's channel, and I'm going to turn all the notifications on. So that way when she comes up as Wednesdays wear pink, that will be a reminder for me. Not going to tell anyone else about this. We'll keep that to ourselves and the 8 people that are still here. Well, 7 people, because one of them's me on another account. So we'll just kind of keep that between us, and I will use what I will call the Sayla clock. Now, I won't say this on YouTube again, but, you know, as soon as this live's over, I'm going to go click on that notification bell for all of her notifications. So that way she will be my alarm bell that will remind me, pink, oh yeah, Sayla pink, I game tonight. So that's, you know, once again, I'm never going to mention this again, but once again, when you see Sayla's thing come up, you'll know that that's Roger's reminder. So that is what it is. And I've been reorganizing the stuff around, the game stuff around here, so it'll be easier for me to handle when we do game. And oh my God, they've been so much help as I've been doing it. It took like 3 days to load one box because I moved a few things and Summer had to lay on it. And then when Summer wasn't laying on it, she was laying on it. You remember the live streams where I said like, Summer's over here or Richella's over here? You know, I had, like I said, I hadn't got done organizing all of the game stuff. And that's what they've been doing. When I've said the cat's over here, they've been laying on that game stuff that I was wanting to get organized and put in the box. Now, most of it is organized and put into box, but I got one more box to get together to do, and I'll probably do that, well, here in a little bit. Well, yeah. Well, see, that's the thing about if you hang on to the end, if I'm going to let something go, it's at the end. In that, you know, if I let any information go, or if I did something stupid, that's worthy of a giggle, I'm going to wait till the end of the live to say that, because the people we don't like are already gone. In that way, the people that really I want to enjoy the laugh with me are here. It's a little bit of method to the madness. And once again, it's a reward for the people that stick through it all. Now, once again, I don't think there's going to be any problems, and I think I'll be able to use this channel. But, you know, I'm going to see each of these individually. Now, there'll probably be a lot of lives on this channel because there's going to be like 3 or 4 channels that I would like to use their content, and I'm going to have an experimental live for each of them. So I think Vox in the Void was going to be the most friendly, I thought. So that's why I started with it. And once again, this is something that I listen to. You know, when I tune out a drama, this is what I'm listening to. And a lot of time it's this channel. It's just I prefer listening to the longer ones rather than the shorter ones. You know, I like the ones that are like 45 minutes to an hour rather than the 10 or 15 minute ones. That's why I hadn't heard the 10 or 15 minute ones, because as I said, I like to listen to the long ones. And that's one thing that we'll do. This channel, I believe it'll pan out, and then those longer ones, we will have a review of large stories. And once again, the ones that are 45 minutes to an hour, I think that they'll take up an entire live stream. Well, once again, you know, it's like, we're old enough, Pindar, we remember when Lord of the Rings was not mainstream. So, you know, most people wouldn't talk to you about Lord of the Rings. But Lord of the Rings is mainstream now. In this series is going to be on Amazon. This is going to make Warhammer 40K mainstream. And it's going to be a big event. And once again, I'm kind of create content where we can have fun and I can educate you on all of the ins and outs of this universe. And on, like I said, on my 40K channel, you know, that channel right there, that's where I have those massive amount of playlists. And Pindar, if you want to drop that channel's link again. Now, this channel, I do not upload content, but it has a massive playlist that I basically have created for you to learn what you would need to know about this universe if you want to start to look at this shit on your own. You know, the few of us that are left, because once again, you know, being here, I try to reward. My broken toe hurt. Now, my toe, Pindar, is a lovely shade of lavender. I can walk in it and I'm doing better, but yes, it is a lovely shade of lavender. But that is basically the sock account that I use to house my educational lists. And I was intending on uploading Warhammer 40k stuff there later in years to come. But on this channel, because this is about stories and fantasies, I am going to educate everyone on Warhammer 40k because of the upcoming series. And then maybe in a year or two, when everyone in the universe knows everything about Warhammer 40k, I'll start 40k Interactive as a regular channel. But I'll probably do that once I get a computer. That way I can upload pretty artwork for backgrounds. Oh, it is. Oh, Rachel, I only broke the very end. You know how the toe's like this? I only broke the very end of my little toe. I mean, it's like if you were going to break something on your toe, that would be what you would want to break. The very end of your pinky toe that is completely irrelevant. In fact, it's really a comedic injury. I mean, it's not even worth I hope you feel better for. It's just, I got a sore end of my little toe. Well, I rearranged this room yesterday. That's why there wasn't a video on the regular channel. So I will not hit my toe again. I had a coffee table kind of sitting like right here to where I could be lazy. And that's when getting up when I hit my toe on. So, I put it there for my convenience. And I learned that that was not a good place for it. So as an adult, I rearranged this room yesterday. And that coffee table is up against the wall to where I am no longer going to bust my toe against it. And I will consider it a life lesson. And I'm laughing at me about it. Now, my kitty is... she's hurting my groin. She's been in my lap this whole time, and she's flat out hurting my groin. Because it's kind of like, the Chinese water torture. She's so heavy now, and she lays on my lap. At some point, she's flat out mashing my nuts, to be honest with you. And I don't say this on the other channel, but now and then when you see me fiddle with her, that's what I'm trying to do. Because she's mashing the hell out of my balls and making them hurt. And all she wants to do is sleep right now, so I'm going to hold her like this. So yes, well, something... Well, shit. Well, something jinged I love you, honey. I didn't want to bother you, honey, but I got a notification of something and can't find it. I was going to see if it was something to cover on the other channel. Well, I have no idea what that notification was. Nope. No idea. Now, I haven't said anything about it, but on the Boyd channel, Mr. T, he's having a meltdown today. I mean, he is having a meltdown that is actually worth covering. And if this meltdown continues, I might cover it. Just to tell you right now. But I'm kind of feeling sorry for the dude, but he's definitely strung out. Once again, I kind of like not, if there's actual suffering, I like to not make light of it. And I'm not sure if this should be taken seriously or made light of. And that is the only reason why I didn't go live with it today. Well, I mean, Andy, you're right. But, I mean, he's extra messed up even for him. So that's why if I was to actually go live with anything, it might be that. Because after I get off here, I'm going to get myself a snack and a nice drink, and I'm going to check on all the animals. and there doesn't seem to be much on YouTube. Sorry, everyone. But yes, it doesn't look like there's much on YouTube. And I'm going to stop by and see if he's worse. And if he's worse, I might cover it. But in reality, I'd probably like to get something to eat, go to bed, get up in the morning, and then do a live stream in the morning. Now, everyone, thank you for coming. And I hope you've enjoyed this experimental stream. And we will see if this channel is okay. And then maybe like in 2 days, I will try another channel and have another experimental stream. Because that's what I'm doing this week. Is I'm seeing which channels I can get away with. And once again, I picked the one that I thought was going to be the most friendly first. Now, have a good night. I'm just about, good night, everyone. I'm about to have a big yawn.